All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be working with equivalent expressions. So an equivalent expression, you can see our vocabulary word right here. Equivalent expression, it's an expression that is equal to each other, or expressions that are equal to each other. So the way that you do that is you need to find like terms and combine them, and then you need to rewrite the expression with the combined like terms. And today we're going to be talking about the distributive property, and this is actually something that's come up in SAGE that a lot of students have asked about, and so make sure that you guys are aware of what the distributive property is. So it's when you multiply the number outside the parentheses by the number inside the parentheses. So we'll get to that in just a second, okay? So I'm going to create an equivalent expression right here. My first example is 7h minus 3h. So these two numbers right here, you can see that they're similar because they both have a coefficient and an integer. So they have a number and then a letter. So I'm just going to combine them right now. Instead of it saying 7h minus 3h, I'm going to combine them so that it's going to equal 4h. Here it tells me that I need to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 7h with 3h to get 4h right here. So that's the first way that you can combine, that was the first step. So we're going to find our like terms, and then we combine them. So then I rewrote it as 4h. So my answer for this example is 4h. So I have another problem right here. There's 2 plus 3l plus 5 plus 4l. So if you look at them, I have a couple of different like terms here. So first I have 2, which is just a whole number, and it doesn't have any variables with it. 5 is another number that doesn't have any variables with it. It's just a whole number. But then I have a coefficient and a variable. There's 3l, and then there's 4l. If you look at them, all of these are being added. So what I'm going to do is rewrite this with my two similar numbers that are together. So I'm going to rewrite it as 2 plus 5 plus 3, that's a plus 3l plus 4l. Okay, so now I'm ready to combine my like terms. So my two like terms here are 2 and 5. 2 plus 5 is going to equal 7. And we're adding, so I'm going to keep my addition sign. And then 3l plus 4l, so I'm just going to add my numbers here. So it's going to give me 7 and keep my, I'm going to keep my variable the same, which is l. Okay, so an equivalent expression for 2 plus 3l plus 5 plus 4l, it's going to be 7 plus 7l. There will be times when you guys are seeing similar variables. So you can see I have c to the second power minus 4c minus 1c. Well, in this case, they're not all the same. 4c and 1c, these two are similar. They're the same terms. They're the same terms because it's just the variable c. This one is c to the second power, so it's not the same. It can't be combined with the other one. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to rewrite it as 9c to the second power minus, because that's what I'm doing, and 4c minus 1c would leave us with 3c. So your answer for an equivalent expression would be right there. So I have two more examples here, and it involves the distributive property. So I've had some students come up to me. Are you able to see this part? Oh, perfect. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So I've had a couple of students come up to me and they say, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do when I have this parenthesis right here. Well, it means that parenthesis actually means that you're going to multiply. So I had a student last year who called it the rainbow thing, because we're going to distribute this 3. We're going to distribute the 3 to the m, and then we're going to distribute the 3 to the 7. And so we kind of like make a little bit of a rainbow. So the parenthesis means that we're going to multiply, so it needs to be 3 multiplied by m, and the answer is going to come out to be 3m. And then we're going to keep our addition sign because that's what we're working with. And then we're going to distribute the 3 a second time, and then it's going to be 3 times 7, which will give us 21. So the distributive property is when we're distributing a number outside of the parentheses. Okay. Then there will be times on your homework today where you are asked to use the distributive property to make an equivalent expression. So right now I have 4m plus 8. And so what we need to do is we need to find a number that can go into both 4 and 8 and put it outside the parentheses, and rewrite our expression to create an equivalent expression. So I'm going to look at 4 and 8, and I know that 2 can come out of both of them. So I'm going to take 4 and divide it by 2, and 4 divided by 2 is going to leave me with 2, and I keep my variable the same, which will be 2m. And then 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4. And so this is like the opposite of the distributive property where I'm pulling numbers out, and putting them on the outside of the parentheses. See, if you were to use the distributive property right now, you would say 2, you would distribute the 2 times 2m would give you 4m, and then 2 times 4 would give you 8. So we're kind of doing the opposite of the distributive property right here. This is only one example. There are actually 2 correct answers. I could also take 4 out and put a 4 on the outside of my parentheses, and I'm adding, so I'm going to keep that. If I took a 4 out of 4m, I would just be left with just m, and then 8 divided by 4 would leave me with 2, and so my property would be, so my equivalent expression would be 4 parenthesis m plus 2 parenthesis. So today, make sure that when you guys are working on the equivalent expressions, that you are finding like terms and combining your like terms. You can see that in all of our examples, whether they're whole numbers or with a variable. Make sure that when you guys are working with variables that you're only combining like variables that really are the same, similar terms. The distributive property, it's like the rainbow thing where you're going to take one number and distribute it to what's inside of the parentheses, or when we're doing the opposite of it and we're looking at what number goes into both of them that we can pull out and put on the outside of our parentheses. Good luck with today's assignment, friends. You're going to do awesome.